What's the dumbest thing you have heard or experienced while serving in the military? Our lieutenant ordered us to camouflage a helicopter because he thought the enemy might not notice it. Lieutenant Barnes was fresh out of officer school and had zero common sense. This guy once asked our mechanic if helicopters needed to warm up like cars in winter. We're talking about a 12,000-pound flying machine, and he thought it was a Honda Civic. But the helicopter incident took stupidity to a whole new level. We were stationed at a forward operating base in Afghanistan, and Barnes got paranoid about enemy surveillance. He called a meeting and announced with complete seriousness that our Black Hawk helicopter was too visible and needed to be camouflaged. My squad looked at each other like he'd lost his mind. Sergeant Rodriguez raised his hand and said, "Sir, it's a helicopter. It flies. They're gonna see it anyway." Barnes waved him off. "Negative, Sergeant. Visual concealment is crucial for operational security. So this genius ordered us to cover a $6 million helicopter with camouflage netting and spray paint it with green and brown colors to blend in with the terrain. We spent 3 days painting this massive helicopter like it was an Easter egg. The pilots were furious because we had to use paint that wouldn't damage the rotors, which cost more than most people's cars. The best part? Barnes insisted we paint the bottom too, in case the enemy looks up. He even made us paint fake rocks and bushes on the sides. Private Chen had to climb inside the cargo bay to paint leaves on the landing gear. When we finished, this thing looked like a flying Christmas tree. It was the most ridiculous sight you've ever seen. A giant green and brown helicopter that somehow looked even more obvious than before. Barnes stood back admiring our work and said, "Perfect. Now it's completely invisible from the ground." The guy actually believed his own nonsense. The real kicker came during our first mission. As soon as the engine started, the rotor wash blew off half the camouflage netting. It got tangled in the tail rotor and nearly crashed the helicopter. The pilot had to emergency land, and Barnes got chewed out by every officer on base. Turns out he'd never cleared the paint job with maintenance, and we'd accidentally violated about 15 safety regulations. The helicopter had to be completely repainted back to military standard, costing the Army $50,000. Barnes tried to defend himself by saying he was being innovative. But wait, it gets worse. The day before Barnes got transferred, he came up with another brilliant idea. He wanted us to dig foxholes around the helicopter landing pad for defensive positions, right where the rotor wash would fill them with dust and debris every time the helicopter landed. We convinced him to demonstrate the effectiveness by having him stand in one of the foxholes during helicopter operations. The rotor wash buried him in so much sand and rocks that we had to dig him out with shovels. He came up looking like a dirt snowman, spitting mud and still insisting his plan was tactically sound. The final straw came when Barnes suggested we should paint our vehicles to look like ice cream trucks to blend in with civilian traffic. This was in the middle of Afghanistan, where ice cream trucks don't exactly cruise around military bases. Barnes got transferred to a desk job the following week. Word spread so fast that other units started calling any stupid idea pulling a Barnes. He probably still thinks that helicopter is invisible somewhere. The man was a walking disaster wrapped in officer bars. Sometimes the best camouflage for stupidity is a uniform.